I think we're live. We got thumbs up. I can't see. I can see. Wait, I'm seeing them. I got him. I need a big thumb. But Jay's running at us with his thumbs. Not So Tender Podcast, episode 8. My lucky number. 8 has always been my favorite number.
No.
What's your favorite number?
22 or 33.
Those are both good numbers. They sound nice.
I know.
I like 22. And 33?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like it. 8. I don't know why I've always loved 8.
Patrick Ewing was my favorite basketball player. That's where 33 comes from.
I would have thought that. I would have
I know.
never...
Why would you?
Right. I was
like
asking
basketball.
somebody a question earlier today about AI. I was like, yeah, I want to see if AI will make a music video for me. I'm just curious.
Oh,
and he goes, Allen Iverson? I was like, yes. Yes. I want to see if Allen Iverson will take time out of his, life to make me a music video from a new song. I was like, what?
Obviously.
So, hard week, easy week? No, it's hard week or medium week.
I was off this week.
You were off?
I was off.
So was it hard or
I personally was not feeling well this week.
No.
So I was off.
You took a week off?
I did.
Some personal time.
I went home sick on Monday and then took Tuesday through Friday.
I had a surprise day off this week.
How do you get a
Someone
surprise day off?
canceled. Someone
You're
had to,
one and only
Yeah.
for the day?
Yeah. It was one of those days because it was on a Tuesday. Normally I only have one appointment on Tuesday.
Okay.
And he actually didn't show up.
A no-show.
He had to reschedule. He messaged me.
Okay,
So
right,
it
yeah.
was polite. But I was like, it throws me off.
What did you do?
A bunch of trim.
So you did not take the day off?
No. God, no.
No.
I didn't do that. And then I had to work in the studio here, but that's not, not my day job.
Mm-hmm. While I was not feeling well, I gravelled my driveway, fixed my chicken coop intermittently when I was feeling up for it until my body was like,
Wow.
lay down.
Lay your ass down.
And then I did.
You actually did?
I did until the laundry alarm went off and then I
Get up
got
and
up
handle
again.
that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll have one of those days where I'm in bed by 8 o'clock and I'm done. And I know, like, if my body's going, hey, lay your ass down, I lay my ass down for sure. So you didn't really have any interesting clients today or this week. Maybe today you did, but this
I had
week
a couple
you didn't.
Friday night.
Did you?
I did.
I had a mom and a daughter that came in, and I had tattooed the mom before, and she's a lovely lady. And then I met her daughter, and she's also lovely. But like, you can tell the daughter's trying to really break some things that she feels she can do. She's working on. You can tell she's really working on stuff.
Sure.
And mom's working on stuff too. But you could tell, like, the daughter's got her A game on that shit, man.
Intergenerational stuff.
Yeah, she's trying to stop that bad behavior and stuff. And they had a few little weird breakthroughs when they were sitting in their room. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because she was talking about her dude. He's like, he just says, well, you're right. Will you just leave me the fuck alone if I tell you you're fucking right? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want from me? And she's like, I just want him to know, or to know when he understands me, blah, 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 blah. And I played her the clip from us that was saying that. And she just looked at me like, oh, shit. And I was like, what can he do?
Right. What do you want?
Make you feel like you're heard.
Validated.
And validated. Yes. And she goes, I don't know. I go, then how are you holding him over the fire until what the fuck you can do
scream?
So in that moment of talking to them, I truly realized my brain always goes to, if I don't have a resolve that something's going to make it better, then I can't be that mad about it, if that makes any sense.
Oh, well, yeah. If you don't have an expected resolution or an expected outcome. And so I use that often.
How about a realistic one?
Sure. Yeah.
Expected and realistic are.
So sometimes when I work with couples, I will use the magic wand exercise of like, if I just fixed it and like realistic or not, what does that
no matter
look
what
like?
it's about.
Like whatever.
And they can't even explain it?
I'd say 50-50. Some of them cannot, and they have to take a minute to try to like process what that looks like, which is, I'll meet with you next Thursday. You know,
Yeah, and I understand
fine.
that, but in my brain, because I'm very factual, is how big of a fucking deal can it be if you can't even put it to fucking words?
I think sometimes when it's that big of a deal, you can't put it to words because you can't quite put your thumb on it. That you really
This is how my
have
brain works.
to.
Then it's not fucking there.
No,
I
I
understand.
think, right. Well, I think when working with couples, I think I've given the analogy before that like you need an oil change for months,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you
months,
talked about that. Yeah, for
thousands
sure.
of miles.
And now you want to fix a
And now
blown-up
it's
motor.
blown up
Yeah.
on the side of the road. So like sometimes they can't put their thumb on it because 4,000 miles they could have.
Right.
And now they don't know. They don't know if metal has gotten into the motor. They don't know if they just need a flush. They don't know if they needed a whole new motor. Like,
More than likely.
they don't know.
They don't even know if they have a motor.
Right.
So when you're expecting things out of people, that gets dangerous at times, I'd imagine.
Sure.
But when we were going over that fair fighting rules, I've been really sharing that with people a lot, and they're just like, holy shit. I go, and I asked them, I go, how many of you can get through the first two? And they're like, there's fucking no way. I go, there's 9 of them. 9.
Yep. Right.
And the first 2 are the hardest. It's like the 12-step program. You know what I mean? They
true.
just got that shit going right off the rip.
Right.
So I've been explaining it, or not explaining it. I've been talking to people about that, like, and just like asking them. I go, just read it and tell me. And they're like, oh my God, can you send that to me? Or can you, like, it's beautiful that we've been able to share that with people. And I find it very interesting. Like that lady, when she was talking about being mad, and she's like, I just, I want him to understand me. I said, from what you've told me, he's a successful man. He runs a company, like kicks ass, all this stuff. You think he doesn't understand the words you're saying? And she just looks at me like, oh my God. And I was like, that makes no sense to me. And, how someone can convey that they understand, because they can't change what they've already done. Now, their future behavior could get better or stay the same or get worse. Okay, but that's anything.
Right.
So, and I'm just like, but the look on her face of just like, why am I so mad? Why am I so mad? And I'm like, why are you so mad?
Well, when you approach a partner with logistical issues, that they're like, this is where you fell short. This is what I needed. This is what I need in the future. And that's what I teach, right? Like healthy communication. This is why I feel the way that I do. This is how to avoid making me feel this way or me resulting in feeling this way in the future. This is what I need instead. A logical brain person, grasps onto that they're like, got it. Like, so
yeah, if this will make you shut the fuck up, I will stop doing it. And I care about you, but I'm saying,
I love you, and also like I just need you to explain it to me.
Right.
But what the unfortunate reality is sometimes we have a logic mind person paired up with an emotionally mind person.
It's like, what?
And
that's crazy.
And I was gonna say she, but that's sexist.
Whoever.
They. Well, in my marriage, it's the opposite.
No, I've seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they feel some sort of way, XYZ emotion. And that's what I often help couples with, identifying, like, what is it that you're feeling?
Right.
Because mad, sad, happy doesn't cut it.
0 to like pain, like the smiley faces.
Yes. Are you a 3? Because you look like this.
You're
but, like,
a hard 7.
Right. So like there's literal worksheets that I can pull up to help people understand, like, so when you say you're sad, are you depressed? Are you feeling hopelessness or despair? Or
it's a big word.
Right. Like there's a lot behind sad. And where are we? But a logic mind person, when you start to give them things to do, they try to crush it.
Yeah.
They're like, sounds great.
Because they want the problem to go away.
Well, because they care. And
that's what I mean.
It's dually functional, right? Like I want to help. And if you give me tasks to complete and that makes you feel better, I will feel better.
I'm going to ask another question. So when you're giving them these tasks,
sure.
Like, do people understand a reasonable timeline, and they're probably not going to get it perfect right off the rip?
Yes. Well, it's yes, I explain that.
Right.
That's not their hope. But so here's what I found out. When couples come to me when they are so far down the destruction path. So most commonly a female wants a male to do the things better. And then the male does things and it still doesn't matter. Because
they're still holding a like grudge.
Right.
So I shouldn't have to tell you things like that. I shouldn't have
all the time.
So that's I don't live in that world. I've never been good at living in that world because communication and speaking directly to people is probably going to work out the best.
Sure.
And being reasonable about your expectations. Like I've heard so many people say I shouldn't have to tell them. And I'm like, well, then leave them. And then don't be with anybody because I don't know how you're going to do anything without telling someone. We talk about this all the time.
All the time.
But it's a common thing. Like I shouldn't have to tell them. And I'm like, that's very selfish.
So it becomes frustrating. So a common pattern that I see is that women are very aware of all of the things that are on their plate.
Yeah.
And men's view is, how do I take things off of your plate?
Okay. Like if I could make it easier, like if I could do the laundry,
like
the laundry
just tell me
folded.
what to do. I will do literally whatever. But the big conundrum is like, why isn't my plate your plate?
Well, that
we share the same plate. We have 3 kids. We have 5 kids. We both work. So like,
yeah.
Where did the shift happen?
Can I tell you from a male's point of view?
Please.
I think the shift comes because nothing's truly ours. Because at any given moment, anytime y'all want to leave or take whatever you want at your will, good or bad, we get threatened with half our stuff. We never get our kids, rarely, unless you relinquish them. And I mean, to fight for your kids is almost impossible, not being a dick. So we're always on like this. We're like always on probation.
All right.
And y'all are always the probation officer. I'm sure there's times where that's flipped around.
Right.
But I'm saying girls, in my experience and what I've seen a lot, not always, it's not across the board, obviously. But girls can just take half your shit and your kids. And you, because you're the way you work, most men that are successful, the way they work, they can't take time to fight that. And they also look in their head and go, yeah, I could take her to court. But she could still do it again. And then I got to take her to court again.
Civil court.
And I'm also not trying to take my kid's mom to court.
Right.
I'm not
or
trying
them
to,
away from their
No.
kids.
And that's the thing. Like I've had, I had a woman tell me, somebody we knew was breaking up. And they had said, I let her know, I told her that there's no way he could get custody of his kids. And I go, why can't he have custody of his fucking kids? And she just looked at me. I go, I have never heard of him being a bad father.
Right.
I have never, ever heard that. Why does he have to fight to see his fucking kids?
Right.
And that has happened, repeatedly. And I was like, why would you even say, like, what?
Yeah.
But you've seen it. I mean, we've all seen it.
I have.
So that's what I think the reason why we don't have the same plate, because our responsibilities are different than yours inherently. I'm saying, like, I'm talking about a fully functioning, working, get shit done dude.
Right.
Now, if you married a man child, good fucking luck.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you walked in his house and his house wasn't clean, good luck. I mean, not to be a dick. Men can grow into that. Women can grow into that because they'll be inspired to do that.
Right.
But you got to realize what kind of person you're even with, and that whole plate thing. It's like mamas who clean their kids' room all the time because their kids never do it the way they want it done. And they're like, why can't you clean your room? And you're like, because you've done it their whole life. Like, they're not going to just like, if your laundry's getting picked up every Tuesday, I'm sure you're not dropping it off on Monday.
Well, sure.
Know?
Well, and so I have couples that I work with, obviously, that are on the whole opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So I have some that are both working, that the mother's perspective is that an unfair amount falls on her, that like we both work 40, 50 hours a week.
Okay.
And at night, you come home and you need a break. You need to drink
mean
a
the
beer.
dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
don't
need
believe in
to
breaks.
play your video games. You
Yeah.
need to go out with your boys or play your sports or whatever. And like, so we have like both of these 50-hour chunks that come out. That's fair.
Right.
And then the remainder is split how? Unevenly.
100%.
Right.
A lot.
So those women really struggle.
I bet.
That they're like,
I'm sure a man would
I
struggle
work
too if that was
just
the situation.
as much. And sometimes we could break down that the like male population makes more. So usually when I talk to men, they're like, why make more than she does? And she's like, but I don't, like, hour to hour, it's no different.
And not just that. Again, getting to know somebody before you start buying a home with them and having children with them. Obviously, sometimes a drunk night at Annabelle's doesn't really lead to that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, so,
Well,
but
and
don't be surprised when you don't really know the person you're mating with. But like, my brain doesn't work that way. Like, if something needs done around me, I don't care where I'm at. I could be at a restaurant. If some shit falls, I'm probably going to walk over and help them pick it up.
Right.
So, I mean, like, if that's important to you, but so I've noticed girls who have kids, they have a great relationship with them, and then their expectation after a kid, it gets real. You didn't care that he played video games and likes to drink with his buddies and play frisbee golf and do whatever until you have a screaming kid.
Well, because the woman is prepared for that. Like, this is childish shit.
They had 9 months of thinking about it in direct contact before. That baby came to this world. We don't have that connection.
Well, no, they always say that a woman is a mom as soon as you like pee on the stick.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
You have 2 lines.
We're
and
not
now
a
here,
dad.
your whole life has to change.
I mean, we get it that that's our kid, but like I've told people, they go, you love your kids as much as their mamas. And I go, no, I don't. I love them. Like, I love them. But I'm going to tell you what, mamas, that's another level of something that I can't feel because that baby didn't grow inside me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that's a different, I'm not saying every mother, and I'm not saying guys don't love their kids,
like that's
but it's a different
how
bond.
It's supposed to
it's a
be,
different
right?
bond.
Yeah. If you have the, I guess, opportunity to have that type of pregnancy.
And and everybody's different, but I know this. If chores around your house, and then it becomes so resentful, because I've had clients where they get so resentful with each other, then they start fucking with each other. They start leaving shit, or they start setting them up for failure. And I just go, if your house being dirty bothers you, fucking clean it. Well, I go, that's not, no. Make your house so clean that it would be so uncomfortable for them to leave anything on a counter, or they would lose their, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah.
We all have that one aunt's house that is so perfectly clean that if you make a sandwich, you ask her, how do I disinfect this? Like, you do not want to leave, because it's so nice. It's like a library. You don't want to go in there and be a dick.
Right. Well, and I guess, so that's like that spectrum, right? Is like, I have these 2 quote unquote successful partners who have children, super highly functioning, and they're trying to figure out how to spend the 30 hours a week parenting. And they're talking about like hiring a nanny. Like,
that's the best way to parent.
Like, right. Like,
let somebody else fucking do it.
Realistically, like, they've gone to medical school or graduate school, and they're trying to figure out how to do these like younger years.
Right.
Where they might have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and they're like,
they're good at making them.
They're good at making them, and they're good at providing, having jobs that provide the resources to make sure that they're successful, which is a way of parenting.
100%. How do you feel about nannies?
I have mixed feelings about nannies.
I think if the nanny's good and your parents are good when they are around them, I don't think, because there's no different than your grandma watching you. If somebody, your kid can never have too much love.
Right. If they love you.
Because I know this, generational wealth and kindness and an au pair would probably be a little more functioning than a broke ass mom that's home all day being a mad mom because dad's, landscaping all day and not coming home and
Right.
helping clean. I don't know. It might go both ways. I'm sure there's a lot of variables in there.
I guess my
wish
thought
I had
is I always tell parents, like early parents, so the majority of couples that I work with are parents of young children. And I always tell them, I'm like, the problem isn't that there's no book on parenting. The problem is there's 5,000 books on parenting.
It's too many to pick from.
And you are charged with the task of picking what's best for your children.
Which is
And if
case
you
sensitive,
have,
right?
if you have one, maybe that works. If you have two, that doesn't work. You can't use the same book for two.
No.
If you have 3+, like you have to have one book per child, and
Maybe
then
3 books per child.
and then you have to have a book to try to navigate how to explain the fact that you're parenting child A different from child B and
Yeah.
child C. And so, like, I have 5 children within my home. And so I often give like the example of fair is not equal. If you
Explain that to people. I like the sound of that.
Right. If you fall down
Yes.
and scrape
I cut
your
my
knee.
finger.
Sure. Oh, well, there you go.
I cut my finger. Horribly right before a
Listen,
gig.
my
Like
cat-
hours before the
Right.
gig.
So you cut your finger and you are bleeding.
I'm for real.
Right. And I would imagine it's bleeding like a bitch
Yeah.
on
it
your
was
finger.
sucky.
Right.
Oh,
So you come to me and you say, Mommy,
this is getting weird.
I know, I'm sorry. My finger's bleeding. I cut it on XYZ and I put Neosporin on it and bandage it
it
and
up.
whatever. Right. Yeah.
Boo-boo
Hook it up.
buddy.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
My 6-year-old comes in, let's say 3 hours later. Yesterday, he biffed it because he was riding his bike over the ramp that we bought him. He fell,
Ate it.
ate it.
Yeah.
He's also tough.
I tried doing that in my late 20s one time with my buddy, and as soon as we both wrecked, we looked at each other and go, why are we doing
Why
this?
are we?
And then we did it some more.
Well, so here's the mom and me. I took cones out to like cone off the street that I'm like, please don't hit my child, like while they're ramping. So he biffed it and came in, and his whole elbow is scuffed, but it's
Yeah.
not bleeding. So fair is giving what you need.
Yeah.
All I did was wash it, look at it, inspect it. You're good. Equal would be me putting a Band-Aid on his finger.
It didn't need it.
Nothing is wrong with his finger. So he doesn't need equal treatment. He needs fair treatment that caters to what his needs are. So
But if he's looking at the other brother, that's what a lot of people do.
absolutely. But like, I challenge my kids to say like, okay, so Thomas got cut on his finger, on his middle finger. And my kids would love
I'm
that.
being nice. I don't know if you noticed this. I'm being very
My
nice.
kids would eat that up.
Oof. I was going to super glue it before the gig.
Well, so in my house, we have like butterfly bandages and
Yeah.
and new skin
Yeah.
and super glue more than we have Band-Aids.
I don't blame you. My
but you
mom
know,
put
like-
butterflies on this. See this scar right there? I know we're sharing right now. See that huge scar?
I do.
That was when I was
It's a doozy.
5 years old. So, like, my mom put butterflies on it.
that's a doozy.
I probably should have went to the fucking hospital.
Probably.
I didn't. I didn't lose my finger. But I look at that scar, and every once in a while, I hit it, and, like, the nerves are all crazy.
Yeah. But I guess that's my thing with
Yeah.
my kids is like the problem, my parenting strategy is to give my 5 children what they need whenever they need it, no matter, because that ebbs and flows. They're humans.
Yeah, 100%.
So when I talk to parents, I'm like, listen, that's hard. That is hard to navigate and that's hard to justify.
All of it's hard. It's hard to be the kid. It's hard to be everything.
Absolutely.
My brother and sister have needed more things from my mother, and I don't, I love that she can do that for them.
Absolutely.
You know.
Now that you're older.
I didn't care. Just leave me alone. I've been that way my whole life. Just good. I can do what I want to do.
What birth order are you?
I'm baby.
You're the baby.
Yeah, I'm
That
the
sounds
baby.
very middle child of you.
Yeah, I'm the baby. Well, no, I mean, my dad had some more kids, but I don't know
So
them.
you are very
I don't know them.
right.
So it doesn't count. I don't feel it. From my biological parents, there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
I have an older brother, a middle sister, and, me. I heard a story today from one of my clients that a person in his family, like a brother-in-law or something, is really shitty. And dad had a couple marriages, so kids from different things. And he told the youngest brother, like, I don't like you. I've never liked you. I'm probably never going to like you because you get to have a relationship with my dad.
Hold on. Who said that? The oldest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One of them.
That's
one of the oldest ones
common,
from a
right?
different marriage.
That's common.
And like, I'm probably butchering the story. So if you're that guy, sorry. A, you're a dick, and I don't care if I butchered it. And B, fuck off. And
Just talk.
but he said that to the little brother, and the other brother said, "What the fuck are you? What is wrong with you?"
I know, right?
You know what I mean? But like the little brother was like, "I'm sorry, I have a relationship with my fucking dad. Like what?
Well,
what
this
do you
is
want?"
my life. It has been the whole time.
Well, his dad, was the later marriage or
older,
another marriage,
right,
so he was older and more chilled out. And like I've spent more time with my youngest daughter just because of the way the order I had.
It's just what happens.
100%.
Absolutely.
But I also just love the shit out of all of them. But I mean, I was just like, dude, me and my brother, that shit would be fight. That would be like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine. But we wouldn't talk to each other that way, anyways. But I thought that was kind of bizarre to talk to. So I was like, what is wrong with people?
How far apart are they? I know you don't remember,
no,
but like, are we talking 4 years, 8 years?
The one's in his 40s, and the other one is probably in his 30s because he has young kids. So nothing crazy, maybe 10 years, 10, 12 years. But still, I mean,
that's
like,
old enough. So birth order as a family and a counseling or a couples counseling therapist, like birth order has a lot to do with your personality.
For real?
Yes. I believe so.
Lay it on me.
So oldest children have the highest expectations. No matter if they're given to you
and internally.
Yeah. No matter if they're like verbalized to you or not, you're the leader. You have to do the things, and depending on your parents' age, I mean, this could be a whole nother session just on its own, like depending on your parents' age and their marital status, like there's a lot that goes into that viewpoint. I have my MFT, like, so my marriage and family therapist license, like there's a lot to be said.
Well, I could
about
say my parents were divorced, and I was in 5th grade, so my brother was
elementary school.
But
that's a big deal.
But my brother was 5 years older than me.
Middle school, high school,
10th grade.
Yeah.
So I would imagine a lot of responsibilities fell on him, even if they were just in his head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my dad was in another state, so I'd imagine a lot of things like that with him. So he's the oldest, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, and so marriage and family therapy has a lot to do with like reframing. So self-transparency. My 15-year-old yesterday used the verbiage of, well, when we're at our dad's house, my little brother goes to bed at 9:30. But when we're at your house, I have to put him to bed at 10. And I was like, that
woke you up a little bit.
Well, I'm like, that's not true.
You're a liar.
Right.
Go to bed.
And like, you come home at 10 because he goes to youth group or like church activities 3 times a week. And I'm like, so if you come home and he's still awake, you reiterate what I've already told him. But the reality is you weren't present for like the redirection that I already gave, the prompting that I said to like shower and brush your teeth and get ready for bed. And So, but he's my biological oldest. So and that's not anything that I ever did consciously. Yeah. I'm the oldest in my nuclear family system.
Okay.
My parents got divorced and remarried. So in my mom's side, I was the oldest, and in my dad's side, I was now the middle.
Because of
there were 2 older step-siblings.
Were they cool?
No.
Not so much.
I mean, they were okay. They were raised very different, and they were very conservative. And to this day, like, we're not close, but I love them.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had nice.
I love that. I mean, they've been my step siblings since I was like 5.
So your whole life.
My whole life. We're just not close.
I gotcha. That's okay.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what about middle kids? What's their deal? I know we're just skimming over this.
Well, yeah. So oldest kids.
You can Google this shit.
You absolutely can. We can talk about it later. Yeah. Text us and we'll go into further detail about the birth order. But middle kids do tend to get lost. That's what, like, it's a whole like thing, like middle child syndrome.
Really?
Yes.
Well, my sister, she's the middle, and she's the girl.
Is she a hot mess?
Oh man, I mean,
is she the only girl?
Yeah,
that might have saved her.
Probably, and she's super strong-willed and she's dope. You know what I mean? So,
okay.
You know,
so typical middle children struggle.
Yeah.
Because oldest children strive to beat expectations. Middle children tend to struggle following in their shadow.
Okay.
And they're not the youngest, so they're not getting the baby attention, so they kind of like waver. And all of a sudden they're kind of getting into trouble. Not like always horrendous things. Like they're not necessarily breaking the law, but I mean, like
my brother and sister love getting in trouble.
Right.
Both of them did. So,
but if the oldest is getting all of the expectations and the attention, so to speak, the middle child tends to like
act
fall.
Out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what about the babies? All you babies out there. What's up?
So the babies, there's one of two ways this goes. Either the babies while out, and this dramatically, I guess, is contingent on the parent's age.
Yeah.
So if this is like an oops baby that are like way later, that they're like, they didn't, no offense.
I was an oops baby.
No offense, oops babies.
I was an oops baby. Like, I'm 15 months apart from my sister. That's an oops baby.
But you're not like 7 years, 10 years after.
It might as well been.
Might as well been. Maybe that's why you are the way you are.
I mean, I was definitely. My mom like bottle broke us at the same time. Like I was doing everything a little earlier than I won't say that I should have been.
She was pushing.
Well, she's like, well, right, she goes, you were there and you wanted to do it.
Trained, so you potty trained.
But you know, I was there, so I was like, and we're the same size. I mean, literally, when you look at baby pictures of us, we're like.
So my brother was 15 months younger than me.
So just same thing.
Super similar.
Yeah.
Also an oops.
What?
Within a marriage and like whatever, but like, I mean, it wasn't planned.
No.
My mom went after breastfeeding to get back on birth control.
When she was pregnant.
They did a pregnancy test just to double check, and they were like, you're having a baby.
And she's like,
fuck you, I'm nursing a baby. And they're like, no, but you're also having a baby. Oh man. And she's like, no, but I'm also nursing a baby.
I'm sure my mom was the same way. I mean, they love me, you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely.
So what's the other one? Babies
either tend to fall into line, like, and just kind of hover.
Yeah.
Or they while out. Like, I mean, full bore, but those kids usually fall into the category of like parents that are like done.
Yeah.
No fault of their own, but they don't, I was going to say they don't care as much. It's not that
Nobody's
they don't
watching
care.
Them. They're feral.
No. So what I've learned from those parents is their threshold for like shock value is so much lower. Like,
put the crack pipe down, 10, Junior. It's not a big deal anymore.
I tell you 10 and you come home at 10:30, like,
not that big of a deal.
Not worth grounding you for weeks.
I don't want to hear your mouth.
Listen.
I don't want to drive you everywhere.
I don't care. It's more inconvenient for me than it is for you. Yeah. I want you to get A's and B's. I'll have conversations with you about how you could get A's and B's, but when you get C's and D's, like, again, I don't know that I'm going to take your phone.
Yeah, like, because you're not going to college. It's not that big of a deal.
You'll get in either way. Yeah. Like, you just might have to go to like community college, but like you can still go. Yeah. A degree is a degree.
And you have more life experience a little bit more, so you understand a little more.
Absolutely. So oldest children usually are held to a higher expectation. Middle children do tend to like kind of act out for attention regardless. I mean, that's a huge spectrum, like most things.
I'm sure.
And then younger children
kind of wild.
Stereotypically have it easier, but then usually have to struggle a little bit more to like find their own way.
One thing I noticed with a lot of the youngest, is they're the ones who become the caretaker for their parents. Like a lot. That's what I see a lot of, because I resonates with me. Like I'm the one responsible for my mom and my stepdad. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
interesting.
Like I'm the one that they know, call me. I mean, my brother and sister help them like crazy, but I live the closest to them. I even like one of my best friends, his youngest sister is the one that's like constantly, you know what I mean? Like a lot of that I'm noticing, but I think it's just, we've seen it and we're around a little. We feel like we're around longer, but technically we're not, but we're kind of around when their parents are older.
That's interesting. So clinically, I have not done enough research for that, because like, so my brother and I, like I said, we're 15, 16 months apart. Like we are the only full blood siblings. And then I got an older stepsister and stepbrother, and then a half brother.
Top half or bottom?
Bottom half.
That's an awkward conversation.
It is. Actually, like, I love my baby brother. So my baby brother is 7 years younger than me, and his crib was like in my room. Because I was 7, 8. And like, are you a real life baby doll?
This
are
is the
you
coolest thing
serious?
ever, right?
Oh my God, we were so close. We still are close. I'm like his second mom. And
was your mom like, put him down?
No. She's like, here.
Take his ass.
Have your brother.
Aw.
But if push came to shove, like I have had that conversation with my mom, that I think birth order and gender has a lot to do with that.
I'm
Being
sure.
the oldest female.
Totally different.
That's me. I joke with her sometimes that I'm like, you're going in a home as soon as you don't know who I am, like you're going in. But then I also have
bye mama.
Bye mama. But then I also have conversations with my husband that I'm like, listen, like that's my mom. Yeah. If it comes down to it, like she is moving in.
I always told my mom I will pay for you the best care. Because there's things as a boy I would, if I had to do it, I would do it. But I'm saying like, I will pay for you the best care.
Right.
I will keep you in your house as long as we can possibly keep you in your house, because that's really important to my mother.
Right. Yeah. But like, I wonder sometimes that is my younger brother having those conversations with his new wife?
Probably not.
Probably. He lives like 5 hours away.
No.
So no. My younger brother still lives in her house.
Really? With her?
Yes.
Nice.
Also not having this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, like, so no. I don't.
Dude,
I would be curious as to like where that obligation settles independently. Like who feels that?
My brother blatantly told me, he goes, if anything happens to mom, don't expect me to. I can't fucking handle it. And he was very like open about it. Like he's like, I can't do it, Tom. I can't do it. And I go, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. And I don't want him to have to do it. I don't.
Well, if you don't want to,
no,
then
he's
don't.
not. It's not that he don't want. He loves my mom.
Sure.
You know what I mean? He does a ton of stuff. I mean, it's not even about doing stuff. We love my mom, but he goes, I can't handle it. And it's just not in his. Yeah. You know,
in his DNA.
No, and my brother and sister called my mom one time and goes, our little brother he scares us. Because I get to that point where I'm like, no. Not having this shit.
I do that as an oldest female.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really want to make any of us mad.
No.
But in the same breath, like, you know, it's interesting for sure. So now that if you want to look up more things about birth order, I've heard some people talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a little thing we're going to work through today. I'm going to put on my readers today so I can see. You guys can make fun of me. And we also got another message too. Maybe we should check that out real quick, because we did. Let's see if there's any new ones. All right. So we have a question from a caller. It says, why does it feel like people are attracted to your authentic self and then later want to crucify you for those exact things and dim you down? Is it because they don't want others attracted to it? Right. Am I reading this right? Yeah. Attracted to it too. I didn't do very good in school, so sorry.
So your glitter attracted me, and now your glitter makes me jealous because I'm afraid somebody else will notice your glitter.
Okay, so we'll listen to your breakdown of this, and I'm going to give you the Appalachian breakdown. So, clinical.
So I feel like attributes that an individual holds, right? So like strong characteristics,
Kind, hardworking.
positive, yeah, kind, hardworking,
Well-dressed.
attractive, yeah, any of those things.
Always do your makeup, always do your hair.
Right. They attract me to you.
Yeah.
But once I have you, I don't want you to brag, or I don't want other people to notice that you're hardworking, attractive, well put together, presentable, because then they could be attracted to you just like I am. So clinically in couples counseling, we would work on the fact that like you are not in control of what other people perceive or what other people pursue.
Yes.
And you're really not even in control over what your partner does, but like that's where like the most control comes in, right? Like you're in a partnership with this person. So
You're walking next to them. You're not dragging them, and they're not
no,
dragging you.
they're holding your hand. So like if you're your best self and they're their best self, ideally you're both attractive.
Reasonable.
To everybody.
Reasonable.
And if you get hit on, you say thank you. And you keep walking with your partner. And if they get hit on, you say thank you and keep walking with your partner. So I think, I mean, not to minimize what this viewer is saying, but I think that kind of strikes a nerve of like jealousy and inadequacy of the things that I found attractive in you are things that I want you to consistently have.
Right.
And if other people admire that, then good for you and good for me.
Okay. So when I read that, my initial thing was, well, no, the reason why they attack you for it and crucify for it, because it's the most like in your face thing about you. So what most people, not to be a dick, they kind of go for low hanging fruit. Like it's easy to go say some shitty things to somebody about the obvious things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know, take away your makeup and your hair and take away your Instagram following, you know, I'm sure no one would really like you if they really knew that you didn't clean your house or you didn't,
Your
you know what I
bathroom
mean?
was disgusting.
Right. You
don't clip
fart
your
in your
toenails.
sleep. And so to me, it's just it's not fair fighting. It's going for the very low hanging fruit.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's just easy. Because I've had multiple girls say the same horrible thing to me. You know, everybody loves you.
That's petty.
All this stuff. And it's hard because I've heard it from multiple people and it just is like, okay, well, I don't know how to stop that because it's kind of, I've lived a pretty wonderful, charmed life. You know what I mean? And people, you know, have always been like that. But in the same breath, that's what, so for that message, I think they're attacking you because that's all they see, because you resonate. It's whatever you're resonating that they're using and weaponizing against you. I've seen it. I've seen it a lot where they just grab the easiest thing, you know, because it's so just obvious. You know what I mean? Like if I'm fighting you, I'm grabbing the chains on your neck. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not trying to grab your elbow.
Right. I guess that just, so in couples counseling, that makes me sad because like, if I was attracted to you because you're kind-hearted,
Yeah.
and approachable, and then to use that against you if we're in a relationship to be like, well, everybody likes you because they think you're just kind-hearted and approachable.
It makes you wonder, should I not be kind-hearted? And then you start questioning yourself, you know.
Right. Should I be a dick?
Why
and
had
like
it-
unapproachable?
Yes.
But then, so here's the crappy part in couples counseling is if you started putting up boundaries that said like, I'm going to be unapproachable and just a dick to people.
That ends well.
It would probably come relatively naturally, right? Like to just be like shitty.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't resonate well with you. And then me as your partner, I wouldn't be attracted to that.
No, but that's a control thing too.
Right.
They
like,
just want to
so
make you
it's
feel bad.
either you're attracted to something and you have to trust the person to have boundaries regardless of their attributes or not.
My favorite thing to do, I had a girl with a very sharp tongue. That was her defense mechanism, and she would say the most vile things
Just
ever.
straight for the jugular.
I've seen her do it to everybody, and then eventually it got to me. And I remember when she said it, and I would just look at her. Oh, well, I was on the phone. I didn't look at her. I was on the phone, and I said, "Stop. You know that's not true, and if you feel that's true, lose my number." And she would calm down for a split second, and she would go back at it, and I would literally only say, "Stop. You know that's not true." Mm-hmm. And if you feel that that is true, please lose my number. And I did it so many times, she finally got it. Because I would not bend on it.
Yep,
I wouldn't bend on it because I'll be honest, try that. It's a very simple thing to do. It's not simple, but it is a very simple thing to remember. Stop. You know it's not true. And if it is true, lose my number. Because if you think I'm that horrible of a person, why are you fucking with me? I don't know how else to say that. Don't fuck with me if I'm that shitty.
Right.
And that's not stonewalling. That's not any of that. That's literal, like, you, it's what you're allowing. If you're somebody saying something that's not true, go stop. You know that's not true.
Right.
It's not true.
Right. When I talk to couples sometimes, because I'm like, the things that just like this person was, I guess, verbalizing is like, if I hold these characteristics that are so attractive to you and so valuable to you, that then let's say 6 months later or 6 years later, those things still make me a winner.
Right.
That is not my fault. That means I am my truest self.
Right. Or getting better.
Or getting better.
Yeah.
And if you are here with me, that's because I chose you to be.
Right. But that's that.
And
You told me people don't like hearing that.
They do not. And we're still holding hands. And my full person is next to your full person. But when you start to question that, then you start to fall. Mm-hmm. And then I start to waver. Not because I'm different. I'm exactly who.
No, I see your weakness.
I'm curious why you're insecure.
It's weakness. When you see weakness in someone, I don't care who you are, you start looking at them, you weigh them. You know, it's like you're like this. You're like, and you try to work out with because you go, I love you.
Like if they're just a little bit and they're trailing,
after a while,
then you're like, hey, babe, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
after a while,
I'm awesome and you're awesome.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, we talked about this when at a scale, like, oh, I want a guy that's about right here. Because when he gets here, you're like, but when you feel like then people want him. Then people want to steal him. Then he's too valuable.
Well, but that works both ways. And I think that's the unfortunate thing is like sometimes men view women as being powerful and independent and social and confident. And they think that she's just this unobtainable bitch.
Right.
When they're not. Like they just want a person next to them.
Yeah, I only know a few people that are like have no use for the opposite sex. I only know a few people in my life.
Most of those people are because they have checked all their own boxes and are just waiting for another whole human that's on their level. Yeah. That's all they want. They still want a partner. Honestly, they still want a partner.
Yeah. They just don't want a shitty one.
They just have like lost faith in the fact that there is one.
Well, it's hard.
It is hard.
It is hard to find somebody you don't want to murder.
Right.
I mean, truthfully, because that's
or that
all
wants
we're
the
doing.
same thing you do, or has something to add at that point in your life.
Just doesn't take. How about just doesn't take?
Right.
I don't need somebody to add. I just don't need you to take.
Yeah.
If we're grown adults, what do you need to add to my life? I mean, you add this thing, but I'm saying, but just don't take. That's more important to me.
Right.
Is when you start taking, then I'm like this. It's like, hey, you want to do a race? Yeah. Well, I'm going to tie this toe back. I could probably run with the toe tied.
Sure.
But once you start tying like everything back, I'm like, well,
that makes sense. So like, you don't need somebody to make you dinner.
No.
That would be nice.
I'm grown.
Just like, I don't need somebody to mow my lawn.
Listen,
but like, that would be nice. Right? Like,
yes.
So there are stereotypical things that are hard for me as a woman. That if I could have a man do those things, that would be great. But like, I don't need you to. No, I'll either do it myself or I will pay somebody to do it 100%. And vice versa.
Just don't take.
So like, if you can be on my level, that's great. But so we have like, we're going to get bad ratings. So we have like top tier people, mid-class people, but like
mid-tier. Not class.
Mid-tier people.
She misspoke. It's okay.
Mid-tier people who are still growing, right? And coming into whatever person they think they want to be. Stop it.
I'm not going to say it. No, it's just the way I could have just had a bad joke.
I know.
I don't even have to say it no more. I just look in the camera and go.
But even no matter where you are on that spectrum of personal growth, I guess is my point, is you just want somebody who is going to hold your hand and step forward with you. Yeah. And if they're not, then that sucks. And if they're jealous or they're bitter or they see you pitching this and they say, yes, I want this, and they can't match you, then that sucks.
Yeah, but in the same breath, like what you expect, like I'm really struggling with understanding why people expect so many things out of another person that, like I said, being somebody's human kickstand. Like I have to always hold you up. I have to always make you feel a certain way. Like, how do you not know how you feel? Why do I affect your feelings so much? I struggle with this because of my personality type.
Right.
But it is when I sit and look at people and I ask them questions like, why is this so important to you? And you can't explain it. And that's where it loses some of its juice to me. Where I'm like, you need to take some time and understand why it affects you the way it does. And then within that, you might find maybe it doesn't affect you that much, or you can put it to words where your person, I don't care if it's your brother or sister or mama or your coworker, anybody you need to communicate with. Just like that fair fighting rule. The first one is understanding why it upsets you so bad.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then you have to and that's hard for people to do. I didn't realize that was such a hard thing to do because I've weirdly, naturally just been able to
So I wonder, do you feel like any part of that is intimidation, not on your part or intentionally? Because I struggle with the same thing on your end of takes me a little bit, put my finger on it. I want to talk about it and I want you to put your finger on it so we can have an emotionally intelligent conversation about where we're at so we can move on. And sometimes that instead of assertiveness comes off as abrasive or conflictual.
Yeah.
Which is never my goal. I actually hate conflict, to be completely honest.
I don't care for it. I rather nip it when it's a 3 than when it's a 7. Yeah.
And so sometimes that approach can be intimidating.
Some people don't like any talk about anything because it comes across because of how they were spoke to as a child or spoke to by a previous mate or previous owner, as I call it, damage from previous owners. And I'm guilty of that because sometimes when people say certain things to me, I had a realization this week that I didn't share music that I was putting out with one project because we talked about before, just my weird upbringing as far as being humble about stuff and not sharing it. And she was very hurt that I didn't share it to her before I put it online. And she felt that would have been really important to her. And I'm looking at her going, I didn't want to share it at all.
Right.
Okay. Because it's weird to me to do that. I have to do things because I do things that I have to promote them. And it's very hard for me to do. And I know it sounds crazy. But then I started doing a deep dive on it because it matters to me. Because I don't want people to be upset like that. I want to understand it.
You don't want to hurt people's feelings.
And not just that, I truly want to understand it. And I was thinking about it. And then I was like, when I was younger and playing in a band with these boys in there, we were really working hard to get a record deal. And we were playing a lot. And I remember girls going, can you just shut the fuck up about the band? Because that's all you fucking concentrate on. And that hit me to the point where I was like, then I stopped talking about the band with girls. And then they almost felt like I'm hiding something or I'm for something he's obsessed with. Why doesn't he ever talk about it?
Right. The next one doesn't. Yeah.
And that's where it just dawned on me in the last couple of days. And I was just like, fuck. I wish my pendulum didn't swing so hard one way or the other. I wish I could kind of just bring it kind of in the middle.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, to be honest, even if you found a middle for yourself, you are in relationships with other humans. So the middle for you, yes, you are. So the middle for you wouldn't matter for Susie.
Yeah.
Because she might need a little to the right.
No,
and then Jenny, 6 years later, might need a little to the left.
Right.
And so I struggle with that with my work is sometimes my work is heavy and I have to come home and I have to vent HIPAA appropriate, and I'm like, oh, this one kid, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I can't always talk to my husband about that because sometimes it's too much.
It's beyond his.
It is too much. He apprehend it. Absolutely.
You're not
and then
put it
he
on
like
it.
goes to sleep an hour later and I'm like, I gotta make dinner and do laundry. And like, I just had to like speak it out loud.
Right. I'm taking a cold shower.
There's interpersonal relationships. Like I mentioned they're hard and they're ever flexible and ever ebbing and flowing. Yeah. So you might have a partner who is super into your music for a solid 3 months.
And then done.
And then isn't because it's too much. And she doesn't have the mental or emotional capacity for it because her work sucks. And then you have to ebb and flow too and kind of pull back and be present for her and put your phone down and make dinner or order sushi.
I've learned a lot. I've definitely learned a lot. But when I realized about that conversation about the music thing, and I'm going, that has nothing to do with it, but that was important to her. And
she wants to be part of your creative brain.
But she wants to be privy to things before other people are. And I understand that.
That makes
but it's
feel
hard
special.
For me to do because my brain doesn't like click that way. It just doesn't.
Well, because it feels business oriented
it's all
to
business.
you,
it's
but
all
to
business.
her, it feels emotion
oriented.
Right?
And I get it. And I mean, when she explained it, but I'm like, but you're mad about that. And I'm like, you're hurt about that. And
I'm sorry. And next time.
Right.
Which is really all it had to be is like you
that would have been way better. Yeah.
Right.
100% would have been way better.
But if that was the first time that came up.
Yeah. But going from that and realizing like the reason why I didn't share things like that is because I overshared before because I was just obsessed. I was just trying to be successful. And I was just trying to do these things. So, all right. So we're going to go into this thing called the Four Horsemen of Relationships. And if you don't know what the Four Horsemen are, it's the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. It's pretty bad stuff. You know what I mean? This top one?
No, that's who is in charge of it.
That's who wrote it?
Yeah.
Okay. John Gottman used data from thousands of interviews with married couples. Thousands.
The Gottman theory is huge.
Is it?
Huge in relational therapy.
Well, I'm going to start looking this up. I like it. Okay.
He deserves
some credit. So the first one is criticism. We all love criticism.
Nobody likes criticism.
Some people like to give it. So criticism is an attack on someone's core being. It is very different from a critique or a complaint. We need to talk about that. So a critique is, hey, that picture's a little crooked.
Sure.
A complaint is, hey, that's really fucking loud. Can you turn that down?
Right.
Okay.
That bothers me. Is a
criticism is an attack on like, oh, you think you're so fucking great.
You did not do this right.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. What's considered criticism attack on their core being? Like their core being to me would, what would that be?
So I guess my thought would be a complaint. You're right. Would be like, hey, I don't prefer it this way.
When you come in after work and I'm sleeping, can you not turn on every fucking light in your closet and slam doors?
Right.
That's not your core being. That has nothing to do with your core being.
No, that's logistics.
Or like, I'm sick and tired of your fucking anxiety.
Well, that's a criticism.
Okay.
But yeah.
Is that's your core being?
Yes.
I'm sick of you being so fucking nice to your family when they're fucking shitty.
Right. Right.
That's your core. Right? All right. So, here's what it says. Instead of attacking the other person, consider using I statements, which people love to. That's hard to do.
It is hard.
Because sometimes they'll go, I don't like when you're being a bitch.
Nope. Right. Yeah.
I said I, though.
No.
Mike is in there saying, I'll just poke her in the fucking eye. Does that count? So, don't do that either.
Right.
So, use I statements and identifying your needs for non-blaming communication. Non-blaming is not like you're saying like, I feel this way, you know. I mean, I guess you could say whenever this happens,
yeah,
it
absolutely.
makes me feel.
When I come home with a migraine and I communicate that with you, can we make sure that it's as quiet as possible?
Yeah, can you make the kids not?
Versus you're a
play
dick
ping pong in my bedroom
when I told you that I have a headache.
Right.
and you won't let me go to bed and still ask me to cook dinner and like
just being
that's just criticism is mean.
Right. So it's not a complaint. It's more of it's like your core of like who you are.
It's
so when I think of
you.
core, I think of like,
yes,
very core things.
Right.
Okay.
Criticism is against who you are versus a logistical or like situational change that you need.
It's more of a personality type.
Yes.
Okay. Good or bad. I mean, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So breed better. So the next one is contempt.
Contempt is a doozy.
Communication. Oh man, communicating in this state is mean.
I'm so glad you're reading these.
I know, right? My eyes are shit today too. I was out of the sun too much. So, all right. Communicating in this state is mean. It is intended to ridicule or mock and to make others feel worthless. So that comes in like, oh, you think you're so fucking great. Everybody fucking loves you. All this shit like that. That's exactly what this is.
Right.
Okay.
No, don't worry. I'll get the dishes. Even though I already made dinner and worked till 6 p.m. and you got off at 4.
Mm-hmm. So mocking
Contempt
someone
is bitter. It's shitty. It's passive aggressive.
It's aggressive. Fucking very
Sometimes,
passive.
right? Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes passive people, contempt looks like passive aggressive because that's all they got.
Yeah.
Still shitty.
It is. So contempt builds when we don't appreciate the other's positive aspect and focus only on our differences. Gratitude is the key to defeat contempt. And I agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Gratitude's got me through my life.
Gottman focuses super heavily on like appreciation and
that's everything.
Gratitude.
I turned into a situation today that I could have been extremely mad, like extremely, like I was with a client and I took a phone call on speaker, and after I hung up, he goes, "You're not freaking out," and I go, "Nothing to freak out about. Well, it's done. It's already done, and I just have to go handle it."
Yep.
And he just looked at me and I go, "What do you want me to do?"
Right.
I go, "I'm going to tattoo you. Like, we're going to have a nice session."
It'll be fine.
And he's a great client. I love having him.
Right.
But I was like, but you could tell he was like, and even the person I had to deal with, they kept apologizing. And I go, shit happens.
Right. Yep.
So.
Well, because you were the bigger person.
But that's gratitude. It's not even a bigger person. It's gratitude.
It's appreciation for who they are, because they made a mistake, and that doesn't make them a piece of shit.
No, and they apologize.
Those are two very different things.
Keep
and
it
so
moving.
Contempt and resentment and bitterness all start to fall in the same category.
Yeah.
And that relates to like the ledger that we've talked about previously. That like I can't appreciate or won't appreciate or acknowledge, I guess, really, like the boxes that you checked when we first started dating or we first got married, because now there were 7, but these 3 are daily and annoying.
Yeah. Well, you don't realize how annoying, or it becomes annoying.
But these 3 you don't take away from these 7, because 99% of the time these 7 you still check.
But if you can only focus on those 3, you're fucked.
But that's where contempt comes in. They start to get shitty and passive aggressive, and they mock and like, thanks for taking the trash out, even though you didn't replace the bag.
Like they got to add that in there. No, and
but you take the trash out every Monday night.
Do you feel that's a communication skill that they've been taught? Because I've seen it from parent to kid.
Yeah,
like that's how they speak.
And working with couples, so I see this. I would say the majority of the couples that I'm working with right now are dealing with that specifically. Is
the contempt.
In all of the couples that I'm currently working with, women are overworked and they just want help.
Right.
But they can't put their finger on what they want because it's never done right. And they're so overstimulated that they can't verbalize what they need.
Then just do it yourself.
Well, and they do.
And utilize him for what he does well.
That's the tricky part.
I'm sure.
It is, because like if you would
that can be worked on.
It can. And that's what I'm trying to work with these women and these couples about, is like,
if I insisted for a girl to know how to fucking change the oil and work on fucking cars constantly, they would look at me like I was fucking crazy.
Right.
But you want a boy who's never cleaned his own house because his mama did it. He never.
And you did it until you had kids.
Right. So
You
if I
did,
expected
right.
her to fucking change the belts on my fucking John Deere tractor, she would, and I go, "Why? You can't figure this out? You fucking made a child. You literally made a human. You can't figure that out. You can't go on YouTube and figure." And she would look at me like, and her girlfriends and her moms would be like, "Why is he? That is ridiculous. How
Right.
could you ask him to do that? But you're
Right.
asking a man to do things he's never fucking done." Because very few men who clean their house just all of a sudden, unless they're extremely depressed or go through something extremely traumatic, stop cleaning their house.
Sure. Well, so the specific couples that I'm working with right now, so this unique, I guess, like pattern that happens is women birth children and are almost, I would say 95% solely responsible for like their life. Like they're either nursing or bottle feeding.
And they're obsessed with them.
And they have maternity leave, which is like a societal thing that like fathers don't get paternity leave, right? So for the first 6, 8, 12
It's
weeks,
starting to get better, yeah.
it's you. It's us.
And you want it to
Just
be
as
you.
And
You're
we
obsessed
love
with it
it
being you. Then
but I
the
think
reality
that
hits.
it's well, and then it's hard because then you kind of have to adapt. But most couples that I am working with or have worked with in the past, one child isn't the issue.
It's multiple.
2 throws them for a loop, but 3 fucks them up. Like, I mean, they're
Stop collecting children, man.
it like
Stop.
So I have this one that's potty training, I have this one's in diapers, and I have this one that is nursing, and they can't.
And they all sleep different times.
They all sleep different times.
They all want something different to
Moms
eat.
are exhausted. They're still at home because like at this point, what do you do?
You know what, though? But that's that weird thing where men inherently, just like other people, when we see somebody bring something upon themselves and then they want us to feel sorry for them, that falls into that weird subconscious way of doing it. I heard a guy talk today about somebody who ruined their body from drinking so much. And he's like, it's hard to feel bad for them when they've done this to themselves. Not to be a dick. You keep having children. I'm like, it's really fucking hard. I'm like, did somebody just drop this fucking kid off to you? Because I don't think so.
Right.
You kind of knew the first 2 was hard. Then you're like, man.
Right.
3.
Well, and I guess so often, so what I'm currently dealing with clinically is women who are like, who are actually like, this is shitty. And at some point it will be less shitty.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired. I'm hangry. I don't want to have sex because I am overtouched literally 24/7.
Right.
I am
Don't they make
co-sleeping
cages
with
for kids?
multiple, like, well, you know, like they are more realistic.
Yeah. They're getting better with it.
They're understanding and accepting of it. But the husbands are the ones that are like, but when's it going to get better? When's it going to get better? And she's like, listen, I have chalked it up as a shitty loss for the next 4 years. I'm just going to get right. I'm just going to be tired, hungry, and the farthest from horny there is. Like,
It is hard because I see guys who have multiple kids and like the amount of affection that gets doled out to them. Man, it is in drops.
Oh, we could do a whole thing on love languages.
It is in drops. It is not it's not buckets of it anymore.
No.
It's drops.
You get the leftovers.
Dude, barely. And it feels grudgeful. It feels like it's seated in resentment.
Oh, I talk about sex with every couple I have. That I'm like, you have to have sex.
With each other.
What? Right.
Yeah,
and the husband's like, thanks for trying to save my love life. And I'm like, you're welcome. And also it's important to her.
Yeah.
She doesn't want
She's lost.
to. I mean, we're not talking about sexual assault. We're talking
Small
about
disclaimer.
her being willing to engage and invest in her relationship with her husband because she knows the longevity is important, and she's trying to meet your love languages because she also needs hers. And like,
That's a fine.
it's so hard. And I just met with a father this maybe a week and a half ago that was like, I don't want her to have sex with me if she doesn't want to. And I was like, I don't know how to tell you if she didn't want to, she wouldn't.
But then you get in your head.
Well,
Because you get pushed away so many times, and when they do it, you start like, okay, like we talked about before, when girls are like, is he looking at my stomach? Is he blah, 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 blah. That's what happens when a man doesn't get any affection for a long time. We start going, I mean, does she even want to fucking, this feels weird.
Well, that's what he said. He was like, I don't want to have sex with her if she doesn't want to. I don't want it to be about me, is what he said. I don't want to be a taker. And it was like, I need you to understand that it is giving for the sake of her marriage. Like, it is the reality that it might not be for her. Like, that moment. That is true.
She put on her game face.
She is.
Yeah.
And I can understand that might hurt your feelings, but could we reframe that to be
I can think of worse ways to hurt my feelings
right,
than having sex with a woman.
She is not doing this act for her own personal intimate benefit, but she is doing this act for the benefit of her marriage.
And you've asked her to do this.
And she cares.
That's the same thing as saying, I shouldn't have to tell him.
Well,
it's kind of the same thing, right?
Like, she is invested in your marriage. And if this is something that you need and she is choosing to engage, she doesn't have to.
Just enjoy it.
And he was like, thank you. And it's like, there's a reframe there that, like, does she want to at 2 p.m. on a Saturday? No, she does not. But like,
right.
But she's willing to, because she does love you and she wants to see this progress in a way that is healthy for both of you.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that is true, though. Fake it till you make it.
Right.
All right. So the next one, Stonewalling. This occurs when the listener withdraws from the interaction, shuts down, and just stops responding. This is what this looks like.
No, explain it.
Right here. This is what this looks like. And I'm working on it. Trying. I don't know how well I'm doing it currently, but I'm working on that. Stonewalling occurs when we are overwhelmed or flooded. That's a very good way of, I like flooded because it sounds like
flooded is a
motorcycle
good word.
carburetor.
Stop that.
Effective communication occurs when we are calm, use timeouts, and self-soothe. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, right.
I thought it said smooth.
No,
like,
self-soothing.
Self-smoothing.
Self-soothing is a big thing.
So, let's be honest.
What?
Fucking timeouts.
All of that.
No, I love
know.
it. No, timeouts, most people aren't going that's not going to happen.
So timeouts sound like toddler.
Yeah.
And self-soothing sounds like baby.
It sounds like safe spaces.
Yeah, right.
Most people aren't comfortable
like,
with
as
that.
a person who stonewalls.
Thomas Walls.
Hashtag you're
Thomas
like,
Wall.
This makes me feel immature?
Well, it's not No, I'm not saying, no. I'm saying the person who's going to have the timeouts is the person who's stonewalling. I'm like, hey, I need some time to figure this out. And they're going to go, no, we need to figure this out right now. And then the walls go thicker.
Yeah.
It's
but that's their problem.
I understand.
So I would say, stonewalling. So I found another exercise that I would like to go over in the future.
I need that now.
Specifically about stonewalling.
Anything to have to do with stonewalling.
Like the verbiage to you, like specific verbiage.
Yeah.
To identify like 0 through 10 on an emotional scale. Hear me out. Where do you start to draw up your wall?
Probably hard 2.
That is really early.
Well, listen, it's how it is how you speak to me.
Okay.
Because of the way I was
that's
raised
on my
and
reaction.
how we are. Like, if you come at me hard, I immediately hit you hard back. Not hit you hard literally.
Sure, well, yeah, right
but
now.
that's where it's like
emotionally.
Tink, you know what I mean? Because
but does that mean you're really at a 2, or emotionally does my like hard hitting nature throw you to a 5?
Throws me to a 9.
Okay,
I'm not lying.
So that's what I mean. Like, so 0 to 10, then it's not at a 2.
No. So
you started at a 2,
Yeah.
and then I poked you, and you went to where?
Yeah, 8.
And walls are up.
Yeah, because
So if I would have come at you different,
I'm like a pufferfish, like
sure. So if I would have come at you different in a more approachable way,
Easy.
you could have stayed at a 4.
I wouldn't even be at a 2. I'm not kidding.
So no walls up at a 4.
If you talk to me in a kind
Sure.
way that's not accuse, if it's not the other ones, it's not criticism and contempt. It's very easy for me personally. I can't speak for anybody else, but I have a hard time with stonewalling. I really do. But if you come at me, and it's hard when you're elevated. I understand that if I have a partner who's super elevated and super passionate about something, but I'm going to be honest. I feel like I talked to somebody the other day and I said, and I know this is going to sound shitty, but how you treat a special needs kid. I had a client bring in a child they adopted with spinal bifida, I think is what it's called. Yeah. Most beautiful little baby girl. How they treat her is with love and dignity and respect. But there's things that she's not going to be able to do like a normal child.
Sure.
I almost feel if we took that same kind of outline with our mate that we've already chosen, we've already established a real relationship with. Okay. I'm not saying everybody you meet, but somebody you have a real relationship with. You're spending time with each other's families. You're sharing life together.
You're invested.
Yes.
Right.
Why don't we lay that kind of outline? Like, that's how he is, and that's how she is. Can I maneuver within it? Like, that girl's never going to be able to ride a bicycle. And I'm not going to be like, well, regular kids ride bicycles. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying, but...
No, sure.
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Because I don't want to say, hey, you should look at your partner as a special needs kid, but it is a special need in their own way. Does that make... I don't want to... I'm not talking about special needs kids. And I don't want to compare, but I'm saying the same empathy we use...
No, I hear you.
Does that make sense?
So I
don't want to misspeak.
Every person is a unique individual. That is what I hear you saying.
Yes.
So I am 36 and I know I call my friend dubbed them, my levels of pissicity.
I like that. That sounds like a record.
So like 0 to 2, I'm pretty fine. Like I might get like louder, but like I pretty mellow.
You might give a little poke.
Right. Past that, once the next stage is to like shake, I start shaking. I don't necessarily get louder, but I get anxious about my ability to assert myself. Past that, then I start to cry.
Oh, shit.
Because I'm pissed.
So when I see tears...
It's probably because I'm mad because we don't cry. I don't
Hulk
cry.
Smash.
Well, we don't cry.
Hulk smash.
I'll take accountability. I don't cry when I'm sad.
I'm a little more emotional the older I get.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I
don't mind it.
I cry when anything is above like an 8 for me. Okay. So if I have already, usually getting quiet is stage 1, trying to speak is stage 2, shaking is stage 3. Now I'm crying at stage 4. Stage 5, I'm like yelling.
DEFCON.
And or cussing. And like the next stage, I'm actually throwing things.
Nice.
As Counselor Kelly. Here we are.
Yeah.
Not at you, but like I will tend to like grab the remote and throw it on the ground. Or like, you know what I mean? Like
full tantrum.
I don't want to hurt you, but I get impulsive and I do tend to like grab whatever is in front of me. Stop it.
Let's keep talking.
But
I'm glad these are bolted down.
In speaking with my husband when we first dated, I had to say, like, I am a unique individual.
Yeah. I
don't do well with X, Y, and Z. Worst case scenario, like we talked about fair fighting last time.
Yeah.
I'm throwing the remote on the ground and I'm still not calling you names because like I don't.
And that's something you can work on.
It's about me.
Right. I mean, that's something.
It's about me that I am so elevated that I have to have a release. And like, I would throw a pillow. Like, it's not that I would throw a brick on purpose or go out to the garage. You know what? Like, I get this like urge. I will not call you names. I hate hanging up on people or being hung up on. Yeah. Like that is like, I am a mature adult and I can say, I'm done talking to you.
I don't feel like a mature adult.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Yeah. See, I don't throw things, but I might hang up on your ass.
I never hang up.
Yeah. See, I will say to me, they're both equally just
like,
as
I will
silly.
say, like, you know what? Fuck you. Yeah. Like, I'll talk to you tomorrow because I'm
working on. I literally have tried working on it. I'm not perfect at it, man. By any means.
Nobody is. I'm a therapist, and I'm not perfect. And I share this with couples that I'm like, listen, none of us are flawless. But like, that's when we talk about stonewalling. I'm like, I am a therapist and also stonewall with certain triggers, because we all have triggers, right? Like
100%.
there are certain things that come up that I'm like, I can't respond to that right now. And it is okay to stonewall with verbalization, to say
hard.
like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I can't talk about this right now. Like, that hit me kind of funny. I love you, and
Yeah.
can we come back to this tomorrow?
I wish I was
Can I
better
go
at
for a
that.
drive?
Yeah. I wish I was 100% better in that.
And that goes back to fair fighting last time, of like, stonewalling is only unfair or unhealthy when you don't revisit.
There's no resolve.
Right.
Not even a resolve, but like
Right. Take a break.
It's
And I'm sure that's
hard.
what it's like. Just
But no, I mean, it's hard for the other
like,
person. Like, if I'm shutting down and I'm like, hey, this is making me uncomfortable, they're like, I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. We need to talk about this. And I'm like, it becomes like, you can win, you can't win. It's not about winning, but it's more about just like,
what's about your healthy needs?
yeah,
And
but what about their healthy needs? Because that's where, okay.
That's on them.
I
And
know,
like,
but it's not just on them, because it's sitting next to you, or you're married to that person, or you know what I mean? You have a child with that person. So yes, it is on them, but at the end of the day, they fucking live with you. So it's on me too.
it is. Well, and that's why so any individual that I'm working with that has relational issues, I would either prefer to do the couples counseling, because that's my license.
Right.
Or pull them in for conversations like this. Like, I can have a session or two with you and your partner, and then have them exit and continue with you.
Right.
But like, the only two options when we're trying to make progress are stonewalling, which is not healthy. Your partner gets pissed and you don't express yourself.
Yeah.
Is the outcome of that. Or we learn how to take a healthy and safe break where you can process internally, or ideally externally, with a healthy individual that you can be
that
like,
takes time,
this
right?
is what I'm thinking. And then you revisit. So timeouts really only benefit your relationship. They can benefit you individually regardless. You can talk to whoever the hell you want to talk to and kind of process it. But the only time they benefit your relationship is when you circle back
And talk about it.
and you initiate it and say, I know I said I wanted a break. I want to come back to this. I've talked to my sister, my mom, my therapist, my whoever, and like, this is what I think I want. But like, when we talked about fair fighting rules last time, that's
I
what
like
I said, like, it
firefighting
has
rules.
firefighting rules. Fair fighting rules. Like, anytime I have a stonewaller in couples counseling, I'll say, you know what? Like, you have the green light to pull the flag.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for you, whoever pulls the flag has to pull the other one.
It has to reconnect.
Yeah. You have to be the one. Like, if you pull the red flag, you have to pull the white one.
And unfortunately, most people have never been taught fair fighting rules. Most people have never even known that they exist. So when you are stonewalling or you're shutting down, the other person is probably extremely heightened, wants an answer, wants to know, or have a resolve immediately.
Yeah.
And both of you have to work on both sides of that thing. Okay.
Well, sure.
Right?
Well, and I think these are always hard things for me as a clinician to teach and implement in the middle of a relationship, because now we're breaking like behavioral patterns.
Which is hard.
That's harder versus if I meet with an individual who is crushed and or fine, I can teach these things as they're getting ready to head into a relationship. And I'm like, let me teach you about the boundaries that I feel like would be helpful.
That makes sense. Justin might be stonewalling.
Stonewalling?
Probably. Makes more sense.
Last one.
Okay, defensiveness. I keep yawning. I think my sugar's low. I think I need a candy bar.
I was yawning earlier.
Jeez, long day.
I tried to eat before I came.
You're smart. I did not.
Are you anemic?
I don't know what that means. Is that a metal band?
Low iron.
I don't know. I fucking don't know. Probably.
Minute.
My walls are made out of iron.
An anemone.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So defensiveness. Oh, defensiveness. Defensiveness escalates conflict by not allowing the other person to be heard. This is a way to blame the other party and not resolving conflict. Yeah.
Oh, defensiveness is so big.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's hard.
In couples counseling, are you?
It's everywhere in families, everywhere, right?
Well, yeah, the family
So
therapy.
each person in a relationship has some part conflict.
Yes.
Okay. Accepting some responsibility will help de-escalate tension and allow open conversation, and admitting like you got some shit going on. But that's the thing that I've noticed too, though. It's like, if you're defensive and you don't even go, I could see how you feel that way.
No,
And
that's not defensive.
no, I'm saying,
Yeah, right, yeah.
like that's what I'm saying, like a
If you
healthy
can't
way of saying, like,
even,
I could
right.
see how you feel that way. I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I can work on that.
Yes.
Or I'm not really good at that. Or kick rocks. I don't give a fuck. This is what
Right,
the fuck.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. You got to stand. I feel like take it, like admit to it, and like you don't have to take full responsibility, because what does he even fucking mean? Like people, you need to take full responsibility. I'm like, okay, I've taken full responsibility. Like,
Right.
what's fucking changed? Okay, I understand that
Yeah.
this happened. I understand, but like when you get super defensive, that always puts a red flag up for me, where I'm like, why are they getting so fucking defensive? Because human nature
Yeah.
tells me, but you get defensive sometimes when you're being accused of some shit you're not doing. Because you can try at first and go, hey, I didn't do that. Well, I fucking know you did that. And then it becomes like, I'm not being defensive. Because how does that come across not defensive when you know you
Right.
didn't fucking do something and somebody's like, I fucking know you did it. And you're like, how do you come across not defensive yet defend yourself?
Right. Well, and so in my practice, I'll be honest, that comes much more rarely than like the spectrum of things.
So where does it normally sit?
So usually it's, you did this or said this or acted this way and it made
Not
me feel
using
this.
I sentences.
They're not. And then it is, the other person, so defensiveness in this case, is also a spectrum of accepting 100% responsibility. You are right. I was wrong. I should not have said this. It's like far on this side. Accountability, right? Like
Okay.
100%. Like,
I fucked up.
I was wrong. You are right. Defensiveness is on the other opposite end, where it's like, F you, I did nothing wrong. I
Right.
told you I was going out with my friends. I told you I would be out till 2:30. I told you I would get
You
an
fucking
Uber.
knew what you were getting
and, like,
yourself into when you started dating me.
well, and like I'm even thinking like short term, like situationally. Like
Yeah.
I told you that it was my brother-in-law's bachelor party.
Right.
I was leaving at 7. I was going on a party bus. I was going here, and here, and I was getting a ride home.
There might be
So
some
that I
glitter
did-
on me when I get home.
Sorry, like that's like the opposite end of where defensiveness comes in of like, but I told you all of these things. And I guess as a clinician, I would consider that like healthy defensiveness.
So what's
Like-
bad defensiveness?
Well, when there's sketchy shit involved.
Well, no, I mean, like, I just want people to understand. Like,
no,
'cause-
right? Yeah, there's a spectrum. So, like, I'll accept 100% accountability because there was an infidelity. Like when Mindy was on the phone, like there was definitely something
Yeah.
that I didn't follow through with. I betrayed your trust. And then there's 100% like valid defensiveness where it's like, I told you all of these things and I followed through, and like,
Right.
you're crazy, which I think is kind of what you were touching on.
Right.
And then there's kind of a spectrum where like maybe 75% I was doing what I should be doing, but also like this girl showed up or this guy showed up or like he drove me home even though I didn't do anything.
So I'm having a hard time understanding like the defensiveness. Okay, so it says defensiveness escalates conflict by not allowing the other person to be heard.
Sure.
So you're just talking over that person. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is a way to blame the other party. Like, you fucking knew this.
Right.
Like, that to me is being defensive.
Right.
Like,
You knew that I didn't like this person. Or you knew I had to work tomorrow, so let's say that one, because that's like much more mild, right?
Yeah.
Like you knew I was going to bed at 9 because I worked at 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, and you didn't come home till midnight.
what would that...
But if I said that to you, would you feel the need to be defensive and say like, midnight, I am XYZ years old. I was
It would
with
be hard for me because
Joe, Schmo, and Bo.
some people would be defensive about that. I think when people get accused of stuff, they get defensive, but that sometimes is a fair way of being defensive. But like, I guess the unhealthy way of like admitting, so I don't think this is where it gets a little confusing. So if you're accepting some responsibility, that just diffuses the thing. So
it does.
It does. It makes somebody feel better.
Almost 100%.
Yeah, if your boss comes up,
the other person is healthy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you ask your boss, like, "Hey, man, this kind of makes me feel," and like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know you did that. I won't do that. I didn't know I did that."
Right.
They didn't say, "Fuck you. I'll do what the fuck I." You know, I'm being defensive is like, I don't give a fuck what you think. Right.
Right.
I'll do what the fuck I want to do.
Defensiveness, I feel like, is unhealthy justification to me. Is like, I did this.
I'm a grown ass man.
Right. I'm allowed. You went out.
What about when you did this? Okay, back to fair fighting.
Defensiveness.
One topic at a time.
So I guess in my opinion, when we're talking about the Four Horsemen that Gottman talks about, is like defensiveness is not healthy justification. It's unhealthy justification, or like pulling out that ledger.
Talking over someone else, taking away from them.
To say like, you're not allowed to talk about this because I told you about this, or you said this, or you've done that in the past, or like, at least I'm not doing this, and like gaslighting. Not to say you're a narcissist, but like,
Jesus.
But like those patterns, those conflict patterns do come up, of course, under defensiveness. So like, I guess that's what I have in my mind of like.
Can you explain that if somebody's a narcissist, they're a narcissist to every person in their life, not just the person they're dating?
You uploaded a short about that.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So similar. We'll do this and then
we'll wrap it up.
Then we'll wrap it up. So similar to.
Don't put the ass in narcissist.
I'm not. Let me think of how to say this. So the criteria, we'll compare.
Okay.
So ADHD. The criteria is super bullshit. I will say that with my whole chest. So like, can't sit still, has difficulty paying attention, talks back sometimes, like any child 12 and under.
Most adults.
Right? Like,
fuck, we've been fidgeting the whole time we've been fucking sitting here.
Restlessness, can't like they fidget in their chair. Like, all of those things are super common things. But the criteria that makes it diagnosable is the fact that they have these same symptoms at home, at school, in the doctor's office, at the amusement park. Like, you're sitting in line or standing in line for the roller coaster and they can't hold still, right? Like, these are...
I've witnessed all this.
Not situational. A lot of kids have a hard time regardless because like kids' minds are not made for standing in line for 3 hours.
Oh yeah, it is.
Or waiting for 3 minutes to pee. Like they have to raise their hand and then they have to go outside and then have to wait in line. So it's like
the whole thing.
So mental diagnosis criteria is a lot of different things. So personality disorders is where like borderline personality disorder comes in, or what's the other one? Histrionic personality disorder, that's the other one, or like narcissistic personality disorder comes in. Narcissism is also just as across the board applicable as it is ADHD. So like if Joe or Sue is an asshole to you and gaslights you or ghosts you or is egotistical or whatever, but they're not to their mom and they're not to their brother and they're not at work.
That's the best definition
They're just
I've heard.
Kind of a dick. Like
to you.
To you.
And probably someone else.
And that might mean that might not be your fault. Like, I'm not saying that, like...
Or it could be.
But that's what, I guess, everybody's, people have a hard time because I'm like, he was good to his ex-wife or he was good to his next girlfriend, but not to me. Well, like, that's because you weren't compatible.
Yeah. It's wrong. All I say, wrong fastener, wrong wrench,
all
right?
that is.
Like
That's
if you have a
all
10
that
millimeter
is.
wrench and a
Yes.
quarter inch fastener, that doesn't make it a shitty fastener or a shitty wrench. They just don't.
Right.
Like sometimes you can get like a 12 millimeter
It's
on a half
close.
inch. If it's not
close.
too tight.
Right.
But if you're tight and torque to spec, that ain't gonna
Right.
work.
Sometimes it's close enough and you can continue to make it work and it doesn't work eventually.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't work from the get because you're so far off. But like, I think that I clinically have a hard time because there is a whole population who is victims of actual narcissism. Like, hardcore long-term narcissism is they're actually not assholes,
You wouldn't even know.
to be honest. Like, they are so charming and they're push and pull and they're witty and they're charming and they're caring until they're not, but like not enough to make you leave. They're just enough to like make you hurt and then they come right back. Like, it's a personality disorder that feeds something that they need. They're not just a dick. So like there's a whole world of women and men I've met a handful of women who are narcissists. Right. I feel like mental health tends to like pool into pockets, but like I feel bad for women who have been in relationships with actually like diagnosable narcissists, because now on social media, it's like, oh, he ghosted you. He's a narcissist.
Or he slept with you and never talked to you again.
He slept with you. He cheated on you. He told you that you're crazy. Like
So tell me this. Does a narcissist take blame for anything?
Usually not. So as a like clinical therapist, the biggest diagnostic criteria for most mental health is that you as the patient have to recognize and acknowledge a like distress by your symptoms.
You mean like if you were called that, you'd lose your shit?
No. So you are
I'm
presenting to me saying, I am experiencing this sort of like impairment or distress based on these symptoms. What do I have? And then it is my job to clinically kind of go through the diagnostic criteria and
ask some questions.
Right. And do assessments and diagnose you so that we can come up with a treatment plan to make you better.
Okay.
In whatever capacity you feel like that is.
How many narcissists do you think go to counseling?
Few.
I
most personality disorders, like not just narcissists, everything that's in a personality disorder, like column or whatever, like they struggle because they struggle with the insight. I don't want to say they lack the insight, but like they struggle with the insight to say that my behavior and my functioning is detrimental.
Well, there's a lot of alcoholics that don't go to AA.
There are, right.
You know what I mean? Because you have to admit that you have a fucking problem.
Well, and so the other unfortunate thing is like there are not medications for personality disorders. Like there are mood disorders, anxiety disorders, depression disorders.
But personality is your personality.
It takes ongoing, like there are evidence-based models that do make a lot of progress, but you have to identify the fact that something isn't serving you. And you want to make it better. You
have to be very disciplined to overcome those kind of things.
And it's hard.
I'd imagine.
It's super hard. And those are the ways that like usually that stems from childhood. What? I know.
That's crazy.
So like
Kelly.
childhood experiences. So I am finishing my training in like early childhood complex trauma. So like trauma, birth order, early childhood experiences, things like that kind of develop your personality. And if not managed or treated or identified,
dealt with,
that can kind of like spiral into these like personality quirks.
Okay.
And if you have enough of those, you would qualify for a diagnosis if you went to a professional.
But you have to go there.
You would have to go. But like I guess that's my struggle with the like
calling people names. Just
the
because your
big
engine light's gone
population,
doesn't
right?
mean your motor's fucked, right?
Right.
It could be one sensor. It could be your gas cap.
You could have like situational trauma that you just have to work through that presents this way.
So even stonewalling would make people think that you could be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And which is that's trash. And that's a heavy thing. Like I take diagnosing people
I asked you
very
that a
seriously.
long time ago. I asked you
My
how
book
serious
has
it
like
was.
creases, broken, like what's that? The binding of it. Like it's broken in places because I take it very seriously.
I hope so.
It follows you.
I asked the girl because she watched something on TikTok, and this lady, I go, do you look up her credentials? And they go, no. I go, I have a hard time with that.
Right.
Like, I don't call people names like that because I didn't go to school to do that. I think that's a very serious thing. Mm-hmm.
It is.
To diagnose
in my
someone.
opinion, like that. I mean, that's
huge.
I don't understand. Like, well, so here I'll say something maybe offensive, like you might have earlier, but like, so the younger population. So you remember when I will say when we were younger, I was born in the 80s.
Yeah.
We used to say things were gay.
Yeah.
Or retarded.
Yes.
Nowadays, the kids will say like that you're autistic. Did you know that?
No,
that's like the buzzword.
Listen,
now.
we figure out different words to call people the same thing.
Right.
I've really called people out on that shit.
Right.
And I was like, you're just coming up with a new way to say this so you don't get in trouble?
Correct.
Stop it.
Correct. But like saying somebody's a narcissist is different. How?
We used to call them bipolar.
Well, bipolar is like super sad.
No, but what I'm saying is that was our buzzword when we were growing up.
Right.
Because they'd have a mood swing. They're fucking bipolar.
They're mental.
And when
they're
you
mental,
really explain
or like
to me,
batshit is what we would call them.
Batshit
like
crazy.
Not necessarily. I don't know about you, but like we didn't know the like technical clinical terms, so we would call them batshit.
Yeah.
Well, like there's a criteria, like a big one, that like is differentiated by certain criteria and therefore medicated different.
I'd imagine.
Which is like a big deal.
Right. There's a couple different kinds of diabetes.
Right.
I mean, it's normal stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So that's like, I do get a little defensive when people are like, oh, he's a narcissist, or, she's bipolar or borderline. So most men are narcissists and most women are borderline.
I call them out all the time.
Or like maybe you're a dick, which makes her reactive, or maybe you're crazy and makes him reactive. Like you're allergic to each other. Right.
That's how I explain it to people.
Yes.
Like if you don't get
that.
along with someone, imagine being allergic to them.
Yes.
There's
you guys
certain
are
things
not compatible.
Right.
It doesn't make him clinically diagnostically appropriate.
If you're around someone and they make you feel bad every time you're around them, you're fucking allergic to them.
Right.
You are. Mm-hmm. So you either take medication so you can be around them, which whether it's mental or physical or whatever you're into, or you stay the fuck away from them.
I know. My son takes meds every day to be around our cat.
Right.
So like if that's what you want.
Things. Like there's certain things in my yard if I touch, my arms get a little weird.
Sure. But I guess my thing, even with that, and I don't say this as like a victim blaming thing, but like if you're allergic to me and you need to take Benadryl every day, does that make me a narcissist? Or
yes.
Or
I'm kidding.
I
know.
Or do you have a condition or some sort of trigger that might be helpful to work through?
If every guy you date is a narcissist?
Yes, and you take.
I mean, how many
Benadryl
girls
on
have you
the
met?
daily?
Literally, and I'm just saying this about girls because that's who I hear it from most of the time. If every guy you date is a narcissist and you've never taken blame for any of your relationships.
Even if your picker is broken, even if your picker is broken and you are actually picking narcissist after narcissist, baby, call me.
Right.
Let's pick that apart. And the same thing.
Or do you project that on them? You see, that's all you fucking see.
They do. And maybe there is some validity to that. Cause they're
I'm sure there's some.
Sure. But
they say
it goes the same with
clock's right twice a day. I mean,
if men come to me and so like I said, stereotypically women will say that men are narcissists and men will say that women are polar or borderline or just batshit or whatever. But I'm like, similarly, if you're picking batshit after batshit after batshit, like,
yeah,
maybe your picker's
I've only had
broken.
a couple of
Like,
batshit.
what's
I've
like,
only literally had 2.
but like,
it.
if you were a chronic broken picker,
Yeah.
I would say, like, let's sit down. Like, let's look at like where that's coming from.
Or you probably shouldn't date. Maybe you should be alone.
Maybe they are all crazy, or maybe they're not. But if you're picking crazy after crazy after crazy, like, let's figure out what that's about. You are self-sabotaging or setting yourself up for failure or looking for something to fix based on your childhood. Like, I mean,
I read something one time where it says, when somebody says, why do I always end up with the same kind of person? And it broke it down in an interesting way where it said, you don't really pick the same person. You just only see those values in that person. You only see those things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that was an interesting thing to me. That was very interesting because I started paying attention because, I get to know people through years of tattooing that I see them through multiple mates.
Yeah.
And when I start seeing these little and I'm like, they're not, you're seeing, that's all you're seeing. Mm-hmm. And that's sad. On. That's so sad.
But like, it's super similar to like, and not to minimize that, but like when you get a new car and you see your car everywhere, or when you get a new dog and I saw 3 of my new dog Saturday.
Because that's all you're looking for. 3
or 4 of them. And I was like, where did all of them come from? Like,
right.
So like when you have something in your head, and I think that's where like childhood experiences come from. And sometimes I feel like people give it a bigger heartbeat than it needs.
Yeah.
It's just your model.
And like some people do it because they want to be a victim.
What?
Some people do it because they want people to feel sorry for them and all that, right? We could piss a
lot of people off on that one.
Well, fuck them.
Well,
sorry, fuck them.
We live in a
guess what? There'll be victims whether we say it or not.
A victim focused society is what we have right now. Yeah. But like the bottom line is, you have, as an individual, you have this model or this framework that you were given based on a whole lot of different factors. So like your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncle. Like when I meet with couples, I'm like, who is the healthiest model you have?
Yeah.
It's not always your parents.
No.
It might be your aunt. It might be your neighbor.
You're not in your aunt's day-to-day life, so it seems healthier because on the outside.
From your perspective, who is the healthiest person you have?
Yeah.
And they will share that with me. And I'm like, okay, and so where's your like early childhood, middle school? We break it down because I am a trauma person. So like early childhood, middle school, high school, early adulthood, older adulthood, like where is your
pillars.
View as for like what's the healthiest it can be?
And if somebody has
nothing
like baseline,
often they have nothing.
Oh, I could point out so many in my life.
They're healthiest, and like sometimes they're healthiest are like
have another family you don't know about.
No, like their neighbor that they used to go over to their house sometimes, and they seem super healthy.
They're positive.
They were positive, but they don't know what that looked like.
Or how to even explain why. They were just less friction there.
Sunday through Saturday.
Yeah.
They don't know.
That's why we love our grandparents more than our parents, because we didn't see them act like fucking assholes when they were 35.
Right.
Because our mom and dads are like, oh, that bitch, she was horrible.
Right.
But no, now she's all sweet and making fucking Afghans.
Your neighbors didn't invite you over when they were fighting.
No.
Your neighbors invited you over when they were like simmered enough or like faking it enough that they could do okay. So like
we like the benefits of a knee surgery. We don't want to see it being done.
No, nobody wants to see it being done.
Yeah, so same thing in a relationship. But you got to look at the positive things. And I think my gift that I've been given is I've got to talk with a lot of older people and just people that have had successful relationships and ones who haven't, because sometimes you got to talk to ones who haven't. Because I've had a lot of grown-ass men go, hey, man, just love her. Happy wife, happy life. And that's a simple statement, but in the same breath, it does give you a little less bullshit sometimes within reason. But they're just saying,
it does. I mean,
but if you don't hear that, because I've had other men go, fuck them. You pay the fucking bills. This is your fucking house. And I'm like, whoa.
No.
I don't, no. I pay the bills whether she's here or not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm blessed to have her here. You know, I can't be around men who speak, or even women, because some women are like that too. I love that older women always, no matter how shitty a guy was, they'd always say this. Well, you know, he got up and went to work every day.
Every day.
You've heard that?
Every day.
I'd laugh so hard.
My grandma still, if we called her on speaker,
she would say it.
She would say,
you know what I always say to them when they say that? I go, well, at least they don't fuck kids. And they go, I go, that's how you're saying it. Like, no shit, he goes to work. That doesn't make you, like Ted Bundy went to work, but he also fucking murdered people. So, you know what I mean? When I hear people say that, I'm just like, stop. Just fucking stop. So, bottom line is, don't criticize people. Don't live with contempt. Stop stonewalling. Hardest thing for me personally, super hard. And defensiveness. Admit some guilt. Because unless you don't have guilt, but even if you don't have guilt, go, hey, we need to figure this out.
Play a role.
That's serious, because you shouldn't admit it if you didn't do it.
No, I agree.
Right.
But like, and I would like to go over this in like a week or so. There is a way to accept your role,
but not guilt,
but not blame. Like I in a not shitty way.
Like I can say I'm sorry, like, what I did made you think that's what I was doing, because but that's not what and I'm sorry I did that, but that's not accepting blame for like I maliciously did that shit to you.
I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Like there is
so
verbiage that I would like to go over in future weeks.
Is interesting, because you could be like, look, I'm sorry you're being fucking stupid.
No.
You can't.
Yeah, but like the verbiage comes down to everything, and that's where you can take some, like, you are a organic stonewaller.
Yeah.
But we found out today that, like, not really.
Not if you approach me the right way.
Right. So like if I said,
I'm like a lock.
I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings.
A lock's super
not at all
hard to get off if you can't pick it, or you have the key.
Right. I'm really sorry that you decided to be a dick.
Yeah.
Like, oh, boom. No. Like, and I'm not talking. You know, so like,
it's if you have the key, you can get into me easily. You can just go.
That's where I work with individuals, as like, let's actually break down your scale. Yeah. And I've had to learn my scale.
It's literally how you approach.
Step 1, I usually shut down, like I said. And like step 2, I try to talk about it, because I shut down first just because I'm trying to like figure it out.
That's the hardest thing for me too, because if it doesn't make sense to me, where I'm like, why are you worried about this? I'm like, I'm so detached from it. I'm like this. And like in my head, I'm literally like, what's your fucking point?
0 to 10, there is no right or wrong.
No.
All you have to know is what that looks like for you, and then share it with your partner,
and
so that you can cross compare.
Roughly.
If I'm at a 3, I can still talk about it. If you're at a 5, we should probably take a break.
Yeah.
That's it. Just so you don't get defensive and I don't stonewall.
Like a whistle.
That's all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
I love the thought of that.
Insight and maturity.
No,
but
that's
like,
a lot
once
of
you're in the
push-ups.
pattern of it, it is not that big of a deal.
Yeah. It's
my husband and I do it all the time.
Really?
Yes.
Whew. I wish I would have read all this shit about, a year ago.
It's like everything else.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah,
but
once you learn it.
Once you know it and you're good and you have a partner, I guess, and that's where like the marriage part or like life partner part comes in, of like
a person that respects you.
A long-term person. Friend.
Anyone around
sibling.
Because if you did this shit to your friends, you'd be a dick too.
Yes. Your friends wouldn't like you
either. If you did this shit to your mama, you'd be a dick.
Right.
Right?
Right, yes.
All right. So the moral of the story today is don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Quit calling people bad fucking names.
And we'll come back with actual verbiage.
We will. We'll work on verbiage next week.
You got it.
Everybody be nice to each other. Be kind. Don't say things that are going to linger with your brother that you said a long time ago because you were being a dick.
Yeah.
Because that hurts people's feelings. Be nice. And if you got a problem with your parent, maybe talk to them and not blame the other siblings. You should be glad that they're getting a better treatment than you, because if that's what you want, why wouldn't you want that for your sibling? It's kind of a dick move to make them feel bad for your dad or mom doing the right fucking thing. And I'm sure your parents, if they're doing the right thing with your one sibling, they'd want to do it with you, but you got some stone walls up and it's probably hard to get to them. I'm just saying. So just know that your parents are doing the best with the tools they are. And if they're that shitty, lose their fucking number.
Speaking of number.
Oh, yeah, we got a number. 234-200-5949. Give us a text or a call. You won't call us, but you can. We could play that shit. If you guys want to call, it'd be funny. We can play that shit. But I hope we touched on some things today that help you. You guys have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.